Hi, I'm Judy Beard. I'm a master gardener, and we are at the Wright Environmental Education Center today. We're about to do some soil tests, but before we do that, I thought we might tell you just a little bit about Wright Center. Thea Powell, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Thea Powell. I'm a master gardener. Judy and I were in the same class, and I knew Jean Wright personally when we moved here in 1982, but I guess we'll be talking about that a little bit later.
This is Judy Boyce.
And I'm Judy Boyce, and I'm a little behind them a year. I went through the Master Gardener training last year, and Thea was my mentor. Thank you, Thea. And I came to Wright Center, I guess Thea introduced me to it, and it's just been fun. We clear the area of the non-native plants, and what else? That's what I've been working on mostly.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. I got started here at Wright, as Thea knows, in 2015. We had just finished class. So we came out here on a tour of not only the Wright Center, but a bunch of other locations as well. And I fell in love with this place because of the natural condition of the land. And I didn't have a concept at that point of what we might do with it, but I was very sure that because it was a natural forest, that it had many, many things that we could do, much that we could offer the public. So as you've just mentioned, we've been working for 3 years now on removing invasive plants. Thea worked with us in the very beginning about creating some educational materials that we could use primarily with adults. So Thea, do you want to talk just for a minute about that when we were working on the native plant and invasive plant materials?
Absolutely. We created a jail for the invasive plants, and several of us did research regarding the invasive plants and the impact that they have on the native species, which is typically a negative impact. And then we attached a photograph to that. We also indicated how you could manage these plants, and some of them are very difficult once they're established to have them not return after you've pulled out these 20-foot long vines, either in the trees or along the ground. And then we distributed those at an open garden day that we had here for the community.
We've got a number of open garden days that we do every year. In 2015, we only did 2 because we didn't start working here until July. So it was kind of hard to be creating educational materials at the same time that you're also trying to work to remove the invasives to be able to show people what the native plants look like. Yeah. But in 2016, we provided a bunch more open garden days. Last year we provided a bunch, and this year has been very, very active. Next year we will probably be providing as many as 10, one a month, almost one a month. Open garden days. That's with great. A specific topic that we'll be discussing each time. But that schedule won't be available for another several weeks because we're working on that right now.
We have an open garden coming up here soon, right?
Yes, we do. You want to tell just a little bit about that?
November, I'm not sure of the
15th.
date. November 15th. We're open to the public.
Yes.
And this is a beautiful place. It's so peaceful, and the trails, you can just wander around the trails. We've done a lot of work here to clear these trails. So I hope people will come out on November the 15th from
9 until noon.
9 until noon.
And we have a guest that day. Courtney Brissy is the new county agent for Cobb County. She comes to us with a wealth of background in tree identification. So she's going to do a walk and talk all along the trails and identify trees for all of the guests who come that day.
I look forward to that because I took a course in college. It was 2 hours, 3 days a week, identification of trees and shrubs. It was in the middle of the winter. There were no leaves. It's really hard to identify trees
hard to
when there's no
identify
leaves.
when there's
so
no leaves.
I admire Courtney for that. That's good. I look forward to that.
Let us tell you just a little bit about this property and Jean Wright.
Yeah.
And since you knew Jean, Thea, would you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. I think one of the extraordinary things about these 20 acres is that when Jean and Elwood Wright moved to Cobb County, this was a pasture. It had been farmed. And when you see it now, it's just incredible as to the diversity of plants that are here. And to Jean's credit and her background from her mother, she decided that she was going to bring this piece of property back to the way it used to be hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So when her children were young, she would put them in the station wagon and drive to a development site, and she would take the native plants out and put them in the back of the station wagon and then come here and replant them on this piece of property. So there was purpose to her mission. She studied very diligently horticulture and what would be something that would flourish here as well. And there are plants here that are endangered and unique species. And so the beauty of having the master gardeners here to remove the invasives is that then those native species can begin to flourish and not be overshadowed by the non-native plants. In 1996, Jean and Elwood decided that they did not want this property developed. When we first moved here in 1982, I actually met Jean through zoning meetings because she was always down at the commission meetings speaking for preservation and care for the land. And so that's how I first met her. But in 1996, she decided that with all the development that was going on around her, that this would not be the case. And the 19 acres were put into a conservation easement. And then the county purchased the property after her death in 2003. And since then, Parks and Recreation has responsibility for the programming as well.
Yeah, Parks is responsible for programming for school children. So grades kindergarten through 5 come here with their science classes, their teachers, their chaperones, and they have both indoor activities as well as outdoor activities that the Parks employees lead on environment and the habitats for the animals, birds, bird watching, all different kinds of things, plant identification, etc. But Parks handles the education for children, and Master Gardeners handle the programming for adults. If you are watching this and you've got school-age children, you can contact Parks Department, and they can schedule you for a day to bring your child's classroom out here. Let's talk just a little bit about a typical day. Judy and I have worked on an occasion together out here when we were trying to remove some invasives. In particular, we were working on the removal of honeysuckle and muscadine vines that had completely overgrown and taken over. We couldn't even see what was underneath those vines because they were so thick.
Oh yeah.
And with trimming back and pulling out, we gradually found that there were azaleas underneath, much to our surprise because we couldn't see them.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful azaleas.
Beautiful azaleas. So once we got the vines off, and not only cut them off, but also sprayed at the ground level so that those particular vines would not come back. Now we can show you on the trails right down here where those azaleas are. And they're thriving, they're beautiful, they're growing, they're bigger now than they were a couple of years ago when we located them.
So I think the interesting parallel is that when Jean moved onto the property, she wanted to restore it to its former glory, if you will. And then after all the years of not any type of maintenance on the property, the master gardeners come and they begin their own restoration program with respect to removing the invasives and also restoring some of the other things that Jean created on the property, such as the frog pond.
Yeah, and we're gonna go down there and take a look at that frog pond.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay.
With this project, we're proud to highlight the experiences of those living with ASD, or Autism Spectrum Disorder. ASD is a lifetime condition often identified in childhood, and in the US alone, surveys have found that 1 in 68 children have been diagnosed. Yet, with the proper support, many living with autism have the opportunity to lead functional, even extraordinary lives. To learn more about diagnosing, treating, and living with autism, please visit the resource shown on the screen.
They'll test you, try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
How long have we been married there?
For 76 years.
He was kind and generous to me before we married, and he was kind and generous to me all these years that we have been married. We had been looking at a lot of different houses in different places around that area, and when we came by this house, it was green, and I love green. I'm Irish. And so I said, oh, there's our house. I know it. We decided on Meals on Wheels because at my age, I was getting to the point where I couldn't do all the things that I had been able to do. We're the Spans. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This is our frog that was created in 2016. The Wright Center was on our annual garden tour that year, and as the preparations for cleaning the place up and giving some focal points and some places where we could provide educational material, Grady McWhorter, who is a master gardener and works here on a pretty regular basis, built this. He actually constructed this out of a piece of lumber, and then the relief work gave it all of its shape as a frog. And then another master gardener painted it so that it has the variation in the color the way a frog would. This is next to, right over there, our frog pond. And then above it, we've got facts that kids have enjoyed and adults too, fun frog facts that we collected from a book that was published by a University of Georgia professor, and he's a specialist in frogs. So this is just one of the focal points here at Wright Center where we try to provide educational material. Behind us is another feature that you can't see. It's off camera right now, but
You'll see it later.
you can see it later. The Boy Scouts are working with us here at Wright, and they have recently built some steps so that we're on an upper level with the house right now, but you go down these steps to get to what we call the azalea bowl, where there are almost 100 native azaleas that master gardeners have planted in the past 3 years. So different varieties of azaleas are in the azalea bowl, along with a wide variety of ferns. And then over to your left, Judy, are some benches that one of our volunteers, the husband of one of the volunteers who works here, Master Gardener, who works here, he built benches that are scattered all around Wright Center in various locations. You can sit and enjoy the pond. You can sit and enjoy some of the other views that are here in the garden. And before I forget it, because I've already forgotten it once, we are here to do soil tests today. So we will, before we leave, take a shovel and fill this up. I need soil samples from all around this property. It's 19 acres, and so it's more space than one soil bag would be able to satisfy. There are too many different variations in things. So we're going to fill this up to about this line right here, and then put the information about Wright Center on it. And I'll take this by the extension office. They'll send it off to University of Georgia, and I'll get the report back in the mail. I've got several bags, so I'll do at least 5 samples from different locations in the Wright Center while we're here today.
And anyone can go to the Cobb Extension and get the bags.
Exactly.
And do the same thing in their gardens to find out what type of soil they have and what plantings are the best for that type of soil.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you know, I want to say one thing too about, this is away from soil samples, but our Boy Scouts that have been coming out here, I want to send a shout out to them and thank them for what they've been doing for us. We have a lot more projects. Troop 1011, and I don't know if there are any other troops involved, but they've done some projects here that are making our gardens more beautiful, and I thank them for that.
They're a great partner. They're a great partner
they
to have. They're rapidly coming to completion on 2 or 3 additional projects that we will see installed in coming weeks. So we'll be getting a kiosk not too unlike this. There'll be an update to our outdoor classroom where the elementary school children meet. And then this Saturday, I want to make people at least aware, if this airs in time, Saturday, October the 13th, Chestnut Ridge Community Church, which is just across the parking lot, their members, Boy Scout troop, and their youth group are going to be coming to this location. We'll have a joint community work day. We'll be cleaning up and doing a bunch of things together as a very large group. So we're really looking forward to that day.
And we've had interns as well that
Oh,
have
yeah,
come
yeah.
to participate and work.
Tell us about the high school interns.
The high school interns.
Remember them?
The high school interns. They from Wheeler?
Maybe Judy
They were
can
from
do
Wheeler.
that.
Wheeler,
That's
I believe.
right.
Yeah, they. This goes the credits toward volunteer hours, so they've come out and helped us, right?
Yeah, they came
Yeah.
for a number of weeks in a row in order to accumulate their community service hours that
Right.
they have to have as required by the school. And so we're very interested in working with kids from other high schools.
And those kids are strong. I mean, they can. You know, you get a hold of one of these vines and you're trying to pull it, and the kids are much stronger than I am. So I appreciate that help.
Yeah.
And I believe the last intern did a presentation on birds.
Yeah, we've got a
Correct?
college student who's working with us right now. He graduates in December. He's from Kennesaw State University.
Oh yeah.
And this project that he's working with here fits in with his degree program. So that was the reason that he came to us. But he is helping us with identifying the GIS locations for our
Yeah.
plants on the property, and that is going to be enormously helpful as we place educational signs about the various plants and as we guide guests to where those plants are located on 19 acres. So yeah, we've enjoyed some great relationships with both high school and college students. The ones that have been mentioned here are just a few of them.
So we got a lot of good stuff going on.
A lot of good
here at
stuff
Wright
going
Center.
on right now. Let me transition though to things that are going to be going on in the future. As a result of learning more with you, Thea, about Gene Wright, one of the things that we are going to be doing going forward is to make certain that the programs that we offer for adults are very specific to environmental education. Jean made it very clear in the conservation easement that she purchased that environmental education is the real reason that we are here. And to accomplish that, we're in the process of writing, and Thea is working with me on that, slide presentations and programs that we can do into the future that guests can be invited to. You can see those on our Facebook page, which is Wright Environmental Education Center on Facebook. Look us up, follow us. We will be advertising each of those programs. The whole year of 2019 will be advertised as a group, and then as we come up on our Open Garden event, then those events will be individually advertised. Lots of very specific programming coming up that adults of all ages would find interesting and can come and enjoy with us here at Wright Center.
And also walk the trails.
Oh, yeah.
And at different times of the year, there are different plants that are blooming, and even during the winter. So it's not just spring and summer that it would be interesting to come out and see what's going on.
Okay, thank y'all.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning in today for TV23 and the programming on Cobb Master Gardeners at Wright Center. For further information about Wright, you can check us out at cobbmastergardeners.com. So good to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
The land-grant university system was created to advance agricultural and mechanical sciences 150 plus years ago. And we realized that some of the research that was coming from out of the land grants, it was not reaching the people. So the Smith-Lever Act was passed 100 years ago. The purpose of that act was to create the Cooperative Extension Service, which was to take the research that was created by the land-grant universities and actually give it to the people who could use it.
And so that was the genesis for the creation of the Extension Service, or the Cooperative Extension Service, as it was called at that time. It was to take the research-based information from the university, from that land-grant school, and get it to the people who need it so that they could use it to improve their lives, their economy, and to improve agriculture.
Well, I lived on a farm until I went off to be in the Navy and to go to college. And my father was a very fine and aggressive farmer. And of course, the source of our advice when Daddy wanted to do something better or learn about a new species of peanut or cotton or corn was to go to the Extension Service. And they gave him whatever advice he needed. And it was just like a constant source of inspiration and advice and counsel, and sometimes correction when he was doing something wrong. And as I grew older and when I came back from the Navy and spent the next 17 years as a full-time farmer, I saw firsthand the great value of what the Extension Service offered to everyone in our county, not just farmers, but everybody in the merchants and others who did business with farmers and depended on agricultural income.
My earliest experience with the Cooperative Extension Service came as a result of joining the 4-H Club when I was probably in a middle school age group. They encouraged us to participate in competitions, and We had to learn our various project areas and make presentations in the local and the district competitions. And also, I began to show livestock as a part of my 4-H project and continued to do that for a number of years. So the Cooperative Extension Service and its supervision of 4-H was an important part of my younger years.
I serve Fulton County. It's a large county. We don't have that many farmers, but we have a lot of people. And we have a lot of families that just simply need help. So Extension brings that human touch to our community. We answer the questions directly. We give it to you in a manner that you can understand and you can use, and you can apply it immediately. So Extension is kind of like that friend next door. You may not talk to them every day, but you're really glad that they're there.
One of the advantages that we have is that we're always on the cutting edge of the newest information, the newest research that's coming out of the University of Georgia. And we are a direct source that our clients can come to find that information. We're a filter for that information, and we are able to explain it in a way that people can use it for practical everyday application, whether it's on the farm, in their families, or in their communities.
An increasingly important element of Georgia's and in America's total production of food will have to be designed toward meeting the needs of our own country and other nations more than it has been in the past. So I think the gamut of influence of Extension Service, I don't think has been minimized in recent modern days, but I think the opportunities to expand that influence has been greatly increased now and I believe in the future.
I think the future for cooperative extension across the nation is very strong, and I know in our state it is.
The simple problems in agriculture have been solved, and they've been solved for the last 100 years or so. Only complex problems remain. Our researchers on our land-grant universities working in multidisciplinary teams will provide solutions for these complex and complicated problems. But how you transfer that information back to the farmer, back to the agribusiness, back to the family or the youth development specialists through 4-H is going to be very different. That's where cooperative extension has always been good. That's what their strength is, and that's where we see them being so important in the future.
We're continuing to see evolution in the production of agricultural products, and I expect that to continue. We will probably have fewer farms, but larger farms. And the Cooperative Extension Service certainly has a role to play in that new structure. They've adapted very well to the changing circumstances and the changing economy of our country over the last 100 years, and I have every reason to believe that they will continue to do that here in Georgia for the next 100 years.
The most rewarding part of my job is being able to help people and provide current research-based information for our clients. They come to us over and over for that information because they see us as the #1 source of information that they can rely upon, whether it's for their farm, their agribusiness, or for their families.
Real life changes. Extension brings real life changes, and being that agent in the community on the ground, being that agent to serve is a pretty miraculous thing.
In all the ways that I had an early developmental life in earning a living and learning how to live as a productive citizen, I would say the Extension Service had a major beneficial effect on me.